Hi everyone and welcome to the True Mouse Games YouTube channel and welcome to another episode of a Gamemaster's Musings. And in this episode we are talking about, well, the way a Gamemaster rolls dice, I suppose. Whether they do it in front of the players, so the players can see their results, what we will call open rolls in this video, or whether they will roll behind their screen, and what we will call hidden rolls in this video. In the end, as it is true with so many things regarding role-playing games, it will come down to personal preference, whether your group and yourself as a game master will enjoy having open rolls more, or whether you will enjoy having secret or hidden rolls more in your group. But you should always try to be aware of the strengths and weaknesses of both systems, so you can make an educated decision which one is better for your group and for your enjoyment, which one will bring the most satisfaction to everyone involved. So the strengths and weaknesses of those techniques is what we are discussing in this video. I call them techniques because that is exactly what they are. This is not some sort of life or death decision. It is simply a decision between two different narrative storytelling techniques that are at a Game Master's disposal. Tools in the Game Master's toolbox, if you so wish. And a good Game Master strives to understand and to master as many of those tools as they can. A Game Master that only knows one part, one tool set, will always be inferior to a Game Master who has access and has mastered a multitude of tools. In this case, a Game Master that only always rolls in the open in front of his players, or only always rolls behind his Game Master screen, will not be as good as a Game Master who can adapt on the fly and to see and switch around and see what his group enjoys more in this specific situation. We will try in this video also to see things from the player's perspective. So what is in the players' heads when they hear or see the Game Master roll dice? And from the player's perspective, when the Game Master rolls dice in the open, for many players, this might be more exciting. They can follow the die roll with their own eyes. They sort of lean forward, watching the dice roll across the table, and in their heads they go, oh my god, what is going to happen? What is going to happen? What number will come out on top? This is extremely fun for a lot of people. I mean, I like dice. Most people who play role-playing games like dice. They like the feeling of rolling them, and they also like the feeling of watching them being rolled. There's nothing wrong with that. This is of course a more gamey approach, but it will get some people, some players, more involved in your game when they can see the dice being rolled. On the other hand, the secret, the hidden rolls, they maintain suspense and tension. There is a great value when it comes to storytelling with having incomplete information, not spoiling the fun for yourselves with spoilers, basically. And if the players see what the Game Master is rolling, they might receive information that lower their suspense and lower their tension. Whereas if they are missing this information, the tension will be there and they will be a little insecure and hopefully will have more fun because they don't know whether they failed or succeeded, or the NPCs failed or succeeded in their tasks. Now, a bit of a controversial topic, I suppose, on the side of open rolls. Let's be honest here for a moment, like completely and terribly honest. When you're a Game Master, you're basically the god of the game, right? You can do whatever you want, necessarily. You can cheat, if there is such a thing as a Game Master cheating. You can ignore your dice rolls completely. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but too much of it certainly is a bad thing. There are reasons why there's dice in the game to randomize everything, and ignoring dice rolls a lot can lead to frustration, especially if your players notice what you are doing. So rolling out in the open removes for you, the Game Master, or me, the Game Master, this temptation of fudging the die rolls more than necessary. Well, you can't fudge them at all, and that can actually be a strength. On the other hand, there's also a temptation that the players might have that can be removed by having hidden rolls, and that temptation is a temptation of metagaming. If you show your players what you have rolled, they might be able to realize or get information from it that their characters do not have. Maybe they understand what the NPC stats are. Maybe they understand how difficult the challenge it is that they are facing at this very moment. And this is information that their characters do not have. And despite many people trying not to metagame, it is a pretty hard thing to do. And with hidden roles, you remove this temptation because they do not have your players, that is, do not have that information on the first hand. So they cannot be tempted to metagame in that regard. Open roles are generally fairer because, as I said before, the Game Master cannot choose to ignore the die rolls. He's bound to them the same way as the players are. This is a very specific type of play that a lot of people do enjoy. And if you have open roles, not only you are being fair, let's call it that, I suppose, for now, as the Game Master, your players also see you being fair. Some players often have the feeling that the Game Master might be out to get their specific character. It's like, oh, I've been critically hit 3 times in this fight now. Surely the Game Master is trying to kill my character. If the Game Master is rolling out in the open, you actually saw him rolling those critical hits. So you cannot accuse him of that. And that makes it often easier for a Game Master and a player to get along, I suppose. On the other hand, of course, sometimes a Game Master might want to slightly misinterpret, I suppose, the results of a die roll. And that cannot happen if he's not rolling a hidden roll. In this video, I will not open that can of worms that is whether you should be doing cheating, so to speak, this die roll fudging or not. However, I will say that if you do it, make sure of one thing above everything else. Do not let your players realize that you are fudging die rolls. I cannot say this loud enough. Do not let your players realize what you're doing in that regard. They must never know. Players must always believe that there is a threat of death or at least a threat of failure for their characters. If they realize there isn't, then all the tension and all the drama is out of the window and the game becomes far less fun for everyone involved. When a group is playing with a new Game Master, especially if they've had bad experiences with, let's call them control freak Game Masters who misinterpreted die results a lot in the past, open roles can serve to build trust between this new group of players and the Game Master. On the other hand, if you're rolling hidden rolls, then you can often, or less often depending on what you like, roll irrelevant rolls. Basically just roll a couple of dice so the players hear that you're rolling things. That shouldn't be overdone, but it can be quite an interesting technique to sometimes get players' attention, sometimes raise the suspense a bit more, or just create some more general tension and keep players second guessing. Last but not least, on the open side of rolls, there is a certain simplicity and elegance to a game style where everything is down to chance, or up to chance, I suppose, where the dice will fall as they may, and the group and the Game Master will have to adapt to Fortuna's whims, basically. But the hidden technique can be more immersive for your game than the open one, because the less visual clues your players have that an actual game is going on, so if they do not hear, if they do not see that you're rolling, they might find it easier to stay in character and imagine the orc running at them with his battle axe and swinging and nearly missing, instead of thinking about, oh, what must the Game Master have rolled now? Oh, he rolled a 10 plus something, and that missed me, I see. This is a more of a gamey type of thinking, and that can be immersion breaking for quite a few people. In the end, I guess I should probably share with you what I am doing, which side of the fence I'm sitting on in this topic, I suppose. I am definitely a fan of being secretive as a Game Master. Transparency, in my opinion, is not your friend if you are a Game Master. You always might want to have an aura of mystique or of secretivity. Is that a word in English? Whatever. You know what I mean, right? About the whole thing. the Game Master persona and my persona as Alex, my player's friend, is something that does not mix too much, and I try to take a step back and put on the mask, so to speak, and put on the cloak of mysteriousness when I'm game mastering. So I tend to not to explain too much, not to show my cards too much, to keep, well, suspense, to keep tension, and to keep the sense of verisimilitude alive. Now, you might be thinking, why the hell are you talking about your game mastering on YouTube then, if you want to keep this aura of mystique alive? You have a point that this is a bit counterproductive. Is that an English word? Whatever. But luckily most of my players are not watching these videos, so it doesn't really matter too much. And hopefully I have helped out a few beginner and not so beginner game masters with some of my points of view, and that makes it worth my while, definitely. That said, I will admit that I occasionally do open rolls, not all the time, but for some very important ones I do stand up, and instead of rolling behind my Game Master screen, I roll across the table into the center of where the players are sitting, so they will all be drawn, their eyes will all be drawn to the die, and they will all be like, oh shit, this is the deciding roll, he's rolling out in the open, this must be super important. This is the contrast, basically, that I'm creating by keeping most of the rolls to myself, but nonetheless rolling a few important rolls out in the open. Another little storytelling technique, I suppose. Now, let me know, how do you do it as a game master? Or how does your game master do it if you're a player? Do they keep most rolls to themselves? Do they call them out? Do they roll them in front of the players? And why? What do you think is the point of doing one thing or the other thing? And what do you prefer out of those two techniques? And also, again, why do you prefer one of these? As always, if you enjoyed our content, feel free to like this video and hit the subscribe button to our YouTube channel that will be appearing right up here. We will be running more Game Masters Musings in the future and playing more games. If you want to join our games, please feel free to contact me and we will work things out. And until we see each other again, True Mask Games says good luck with your own games. Thank you for watching and bye-bye.